say you wanted to try football and you've never played football, like it's going to be tough to jump into that. But with volleyball, like there's a lot of coaches, there's a lot of new players at pretty much every age group.
It's another Monday with Volleyball from A to Z. Volleyball from A to Z is the podcast or videocast, however you decide to tune in, which we talk about player development. Today on Volleyball from A to Z, we're going to talk with a boys volleyball player, Chris Unger. He's currently a full-time coach at NVVA, is just graduating from Virginia Tech, and started playing volleyball when he was young. So he's going to have a lot of perspective and a lot of advice to give to you. All right. Thanks, Chris, for joining us. I'd love for you to give yourself a little bit of an introduction as to kind of who you are and what you're doing right now.
So I'm Chris. I have been playing volleyball since like middle school. I just graduated from Virginia Tech, and I'm going to be a coach this upcoming season at NVVA. And right now I'm just in lockdown, watching a lot of Netflix and not doing much, ready to play some more volleyball.
Great. We're happy to have you. We can't wait to open either. So I really wanted to talk to you today about boys volleyball, and kind of, we have this small audience I know at NVVA that really looks for people to talk to and give advice, but boys volleyball is growing across the country at a rapid pace. So you starting in middle school, tell us a little bit about just how you got started and what program you were playing.
So I got started, I've lived all over Virginia. So I thought about playing when I lived in Virginia Beach, which was in elementary school. My dad actually played, and I would always go to his beach tournaments and tournaments at Tidewater. And then when I moved to Richmond, Richmond and Central Virginia's boys volleyball programs are pretty huge. So I just decided to try out at RBC, at Richmond Volleyball Club, and ended up making a team, and then realized that I was more coordinated at volleyball than I was at basketball and soccer, which I was not good at those. So then, I just started playing. I fell in love with it, and then I ended up moving up to Northern Virginia. And the team up here, we had pieced together just a team of really skilled guys that ended up becoming like my best friends. And it just made me love the sport even more. And ever since then, I've just been playing nonstop.
Yeah, I love it. We had LYV, as I'm sure you're kind of familiar with, we had 100 boys come out for the first time ever. Wow. So there was like 4 elementary teams, 4 middle school teams, and then 3 high school teams. So it was a big boom.
That's impressive.
It was a big boom for boys volleyball.
Yeah. There definitely wasn't 100 boys when we were doing it.
The thing I was most excited about, though, was especially at the high school level, there were boys playing for the first time, which I feel like sometimes in boy culture, and you can definitely explain this to me, where trying something for the first time is almost like looked down upon, especially when it comes to sports. So what kind of is the mentality there, I guess, especially for volleyball?
Yeah, I definitely could see why they might be like hesitant to start or be like embarrassed if they don't have it all down, but obviously they're not going to have it all down. And I feel like volleyball is actually an easier sport to jump into at an older age because it's not as big or like watched as if you were to say you wanted to try football and you've never played football. Like it's going to be tough to jump into that. But with volleyball, like there's a lot of coaches, there's a lot of new players at pretty much every age group. I mean, I play in adult tournaments now. And even at adult tournaments, there's lower levels where like it might be people's first tournaments and they might be 30 years old. So like I could see why like maybe in like a boy culture they'd be hesitant to start, but I could guarantee that that person wouldn't be the only person just starting, you know? So they would have people to build upon, and I think it's an easier sport to jump into in terms of like mentally it being your first sport.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's almost this mashup, especially for boys. Like it's non-contact, so if you're multi-sport athletes, it's kind of this safe choice outside of your regular season, but it's also very much a power sport. Like you can hit the crap out of the ball, but then, if you're maybe more of an undersized guy and you're playing libero or you're playing back row, you're like, I'm gonna dig this. Like I got this here.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I'm sure there's like a certain like subset of people that might see the non-contact sport as like, I don't know, lazy or something. But I mean, volleyball can really kick you in the butt. Yeah, and especially for like, if it's a basketball player or something on its off season, like you arguably jump more in volleyball than you do in basketball. It's just constantly jumping. My legs have never hurt so much as when I was playing club at NVVA.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, for those other players, even I would say baseball, like baseball and basketball, that lateral movement and then that hand-eye coordination is extremely important. So if you are doing those other sports and you want to play volleyball, it's kind of this nice segue into being better.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really good sport in terms of like hand-eye coordination, and then also just like it's such a precise sport that you kind of gotta like, it almost like hones in your focus. You gotta always be focused, and I feel like that's kind of a tough skill to get. Like you really gotta be ready to go at like all times in volleyball, which is good.
Yeah, what do they always say? No points off. No plays off.
Points off. Exactly.
So your parents, do they play volleyball or do you want to have a history there?
My dad has played volleyball. I mean, ever since I was little. I think he was in the Air Force and he started just like playing military ball. And my mom played a little bit like for fun, and that's how they ended up meeting. And then, I mean, ever since I was a kid, I was that baby that was on the sidelines at the tournaments. So ever since I remember, I've been hopping around these volleyball tournaments.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot with people about how their parents kind of supported them. And I know sometimes you kind of forget to appreciate the things that they've done for you until you really look back. So when you were starting that little middle school Chris, what are some things that your parents did that you really were like, oh, I'm happy that they're supporting me, or this was something I didn't even know that they needed to do for me to play this sport?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I wouldn't have even done it if they weren't like, do you want to just try this out? Because I was like pretty much dead set on soccer and basketball, which was terrible for me because I really was like the worst out there at all times. But they they got me out there to try out, and then I mean, ever since then, my first season I was just doing like a LYV type thing just to try it out. And then when I decided that I actually really liked it, they said that I could try out for the travel team. And then from then, their support was huge because, I mean, they were both working, so they couldn't always travel and stuff, but they wanted me to keep, like, try my best to go up to these higher level teams. And they became friends with some of the other parents, and I would stay with other players or other parents overnight and just stuff like that. But, I mean, they were always pushing me to do it. And then when I was moving from Richmond to Northern Virginia, I was really unhappy about moving because I had my team. It was just because of volleyball. I had my team in Richmond, and I didn't want to leave them. But my parents met the coach at NVVA, who was Steve Schumacher back in the day, met like 5 of the other parents on the team. And this is when I was like angsty, like 8th grader. I was like, I don't want to talk to them. Like, I don't even want to play volleyball. And then they met everybody. The team at NVVA like immediately brought me in before I had even moved, and I was like hanging out with them. And then, I mean, they're still my best friends to this day. So without my parents reaching out, which I'm sure they weren't happy, or they were happy to do it, but I'm sure it was hard for them because I was not happy about it. Without that, I wouldn't even be playing probably.
Yeah, and I love that you referenced that, you know, your teammates that you had are still friends with you to this day. Like I've coached men's college volleyball for 4 years, and I started now doing the younger kids, and there's just this bond. Maybe it's from sport, maybe it's from being like a small population of boys volleyball players, but those are just lasting friendships that you have.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you what it is, but I mean, this past spring break, like the week that everything fell apart and they shut down the NBA, they shut down everything. I had saved up money this past year to take a ticket out to San Diego to visit Nick, Lucas, and Jacob, who are 3 of the people on my team. So like, they're still my best friends. I'm texting Bobby right now to see what he's up to. Like, I don't know what it is about the sport, I think that's almost a universal thing. I feel like I'm still friends with my volleyball buddies from Richmond, and I still talk to people that I've played against when I was like 16, 17. Like, something about it just like brings people together.
Yeah, I would say volleyball in general has this great culture. So if you can get into the sport and you really love it and you want to keep going with it, it's a great sport to kind of, you know, put your kids in at an early age, and that, especially like your parents did, like say, do you want to try this? And being really supportive of this sport that's maybe not so mainstream or not on TV.
Not yet.
Not yet. Getting there.
Yeah, I definitely feel like programs like LYV and stuff are a really good intro, because you still get it's the same coaches that are coaching high level stuff at NVVA. You're still getting that attention and stuff, and it's a good way to just see like, oh, do I want to do this? Do I actually want to pursue this? If not, like, if it's not your thing, you don't have to, but I feel like it's a really good way to see if it is. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people go from LYV to playing club. Like, people that I was coaching years ago and they were like little tiny kids at LYV, they're now playing on travel teams at club.
Yeah, I love that. I love seeing the growth, especially the commitment too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we really talked about your developmental career, and we're just going to touch on this. So your options after high school. I know that for boys now there was a lot of options, and you just graduated, so it wasn't that long ago, but a lot has changed. What did you kind of look for when you wanted to continue playing, or did you want to continue playing after your senior year?
Yeah, so during my senior year of high school, when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for college, I was pretty much, at the beginning, I was like dead set on recruitment because I wanted to like play for a program. And I ended up like verbally committing to this D3 school. And then what happened was their coach left, and their coach was like the big reason that I was like on board to go to this school. So then I had like a crisis, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Also, this is December, and the applications are due in like 3 weeks. So then I really was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I was looking to just stay in state, and volleyball was actually one of the big decisions. I only applied, and this is not good advice, but I only applied to Virginia Tech and UVA. And then Virginia Tech had a really good volleyball program. And I had visited one time and thought it was cool. And then, I said, screw it, let's go to Virginia Tech. And it ended up being, the best decision of my life. And I played volleyball the past 4 years there, and I did club. So I decided, they don't have a division program there, but club was amazing. So even if somebody is deciding between like going the full collegiate volleyball athlete or doing club, a lot of the D1, D2, D3 players actually drop down to club because it's a little bit of less of a time commitment, less of a travel commitment, but it's still very, very competitive, which is great.
Yeah, I love the club setup. I'm fortunate enough to coach at the University of Minnesota for club, and the thing that just fascinated me was that it's all student run, and a lot of those players that get done, they are ready for the world because they've had to time manage and budget and have meetings, and just that student run aspect is just so fascinating. And a lot of these programs, these really high level programs, and sometimes you don't have a coach. It's just this camaraderie of let's get better at volleyball, let's kick some butt, let's go to nationals.
It was very different going from NVVA, where everything was organized, to then going to Virginia Tech, where it was completely student run. We had a coach, Sean Callahan, who came to our tournaments and would like give us advice every now and then. And great guy. He was awesome to have. But like the day-to-day practices 3 times a week, completely student run. It was just us. We'd show up. We had president, vice president, a treasurer, like secretary, all these people who had their roles, and somehow it all came together and worked out. It's not easy. I was vice president last year, and luckily our president, his name was Nick Spishiger, was very, very on his job. So I didn't have that many responsibilities other than going to some of the meetings. But yeah, it's definitely a lot. You got to be on your stuff.
And most teams have an A team and a B team. And I know sometimes on those, or even a C team, like there's some big programs out there. And I know on those B teams, you can even play for the first time. Like maybe you've played for fun, or maybe you played recreationally and you just try out for these club programs. I'm not quite sure at Tech, but we had a few boys that came out and they were super athletic. They were really dedicated. They just loved the sport and they just wanted to get better. So if there are some, kids out there that are really looking for something to be involved in, club volleyball is always a great choice.
Oh, absolutely. We actually had a C team at Virginia Tech, and they were, it was one of there were single digit C teams in the nation. Like there's not that many schools that do a C team, but shout out to our C team. They were pretty good. They were beating a lot of B teams at tournaments and stuff. And they actually they've gone to nationals, and we're going to go to nationals this year before it got moved to a virtual nationals. But there was definitely students that tried out that have, played other sports. They were just kind of really good athletes and wanted to give volleyball a try. And yeah, they made the team, and they were great.
Yeah,
club volleyball is an awesome way to start.
It's a good alternative if you are trying to be an athlete, but you don't, especially if you want to go to a big school. Like maybe you're not one of those D1 athletes. Like go out for a club sport. Go out for a club sport in general, but just stay involved and develop your interpersonal skills through that student run organization, and make some friends and travel. And the coolest campus that we probably went to, and this just goes to my Midwestern feel, was UCLA. UCLA was just beautiful. The weather was nice. The campus is cool. We got to go to a game. It was great.
Yeah, the travel part I think was one of the coolest things about club, because I wasn't sure like how it actually worked when I had signed up. I hadn't done that much research on club volleyball. But we went up to Illinois, we went to Indiana. We had gotten approved to actually fly out to California. You still travel all around. It mostly comes down to your club's budgeting, and like you said, it's student run. So whatever they can afford, you pretty much go to. But the travel part was awesome. I loved still being able to go around the country and the East Coast playing volleyball.
Yeah, I could talk about club volleyball all day.
Me too.
All right, Chris. Well, as we close out, I always love to ask my guests, especially younger players, this question. If you kind of were to give yourself advice, and I'm going to make this a fun one actually, through the different stages. So through your middle school, your high school, and your college career, what kind of advice would you give yourself at those different points?
I would tell my middle school self that you're not going to grow anymore, that you're going to be 6 forever. And even though you're towering over people right now, you're done growing. So I thought I was going to be like this super tall, crazy volleyball player. Ended up being a short, still pretty good volleyball player. So yeah, height for middle school. In high school, I wish I would have tried other positions, mainly setting a little bit, like just stuck my foot in with other positions, because I've played outside my whole life. I've done a little libero stuff, but I wish that I had actually like gotten some setting training or like coaching, or just to perfect that a little bit. So just trying other positions to mix it up. And then currently, for my college self, I'd probably say that I need to be hitting the gym more. That I need to be waking up earlier to go to the gym instead of sleeping in.
That's great. Sleep is good sometimes. It's okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling myself right now. I had to set an alarm for this 11 a.m. interview.
Yes, maybe too much then. All right, Chris, it was great having you. I love, boys volleyball is definitely growing in this area, and I hope that our situation right now doesn't hinder our progress or the opportunity to try new things. All those young boys out there and their parents, like Chris said before, just give it a try. Just sign up for a class or sign up for an in-house league or attend a camp. Like, it's great. It's a great way just to get an introduction to it before you really commit to playing on a team.
Yeah, do it with friends too. Do it with some of your friends. It makes it more fun.
All right, Chris, any ending words?
Thanks for having me. This is cool. Hopefully, I'll get to play some volleyball soon. We can all see each other soon.
Yes.
Stay safe.
We miss those coaches' games.
Yeah, I do. I really do. Now more than ever.
All right. Goodbye.
See ya.